Right, we'll start with the APAC elective issue. We are due to have the APAC conference, and I'm sure that documentation to that effect has been circulated. We will have to also maybe next week or appoint the Council of Delegates members. But maybe to give a brief background, the office bearers of APAC, none of them returned to either Parliament or the Council of Delegates members or the legislatures. Maybe to give a brief background, so that is the first dilemma. The second point is that the Speakers Forum has been engaged in a long discussion about the migration of APAC to Parliament, and specifically the National Assembly, because we have a situation where APAC was housed in AG's office. That was deemed to be undesirable for the purposes of checks and balances. Among others, and then secondly, the second point is also dealing with the Speakers Forum has been. Then it was of course moved and temporarily now housed in the Gauteng legislature, and the process of migration to Parliament is on the way. So there have been meetings of all the jurisdictional chairpersons of the public accounts committees, one with also the deputy speaker, where we have been engaged in a process of first and foremost setting into motion the preparations for a conference. It was then decided that in the absence of office bearers or legitimate office bearers for the process of migration, simple fact that they are no longer members of Parliament or legislatures, the conference will be called by the Speaker. I was then tasked to engage in a process of engage with the Speaker. I have the correspondence on that effect has been sent through, and we are awaiting the date now from the Speaker. And most likely, or not most likely, because the conference will be a virtual conference. We were asked to second the researcher to the team of researchers which are working with for the planning, and Ms. Shabalala is on that team, and I'm aware that the researchers have met in the preparation of all the documentation for that particular conference. So we are awaiting the directives and the way forward from the Speaker in terms of how that will move. And so one of the decisions we have to take today is on, we must set a day for when we'll be at our next meeting, possibly, whether at the start or at the finish, depending on who we have, then elect the members of the Council of Delegates, which we are three. It's the chairperson, one from the majority party and one from the opposition. And so we'll have to then have to discuss that, and then probably colleagues to go and apply their minds and the various caucuses to have a look at it, so that we can prepare for that conference. The conference was scheduled, was mooted for the end of the month, but unfortunately, because there's 21 days notice that is required, we are fast losing that 21 days. And so I suppose we will exercise flexibility and agility in that. So what I will request, I hope that the Dombi members have received the constitution of APAC, and then we will we will take it from there. So I thought the first matter is just about APAC, the modalities of how it will be structured at National Assembly. Parliament are with the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker, and I'm sure we will at some point be asked to make an input on that. Whilst it does work with other committees like Auditor General and sometimes Appropriations, the APAC, from what I've seen in the past, the people who are going to be ultimately responsible for it are us as scopers. So that's the first briefing. I thought it would be quick, and then we can dispense with that one. So I would like to hand over to colleagues, please. Colleagues? Sistombe, am I audible?
Yes, Chair, I can hear you.
Right. I was handing over that first item to colleagues for a discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Honourable List, you may proceed.
Just to break the logjam, I don't think that we have anything to add at this stage. So, yeah, we'll reserve any position that we may need to have to a later date. But yeah, nothing to add. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Thank you very much, Honourable List. Honourable Hattab, I see you popping up on the screen.
Yeah, no, I want to say, Chair, it's simple and straightforward for now. So one might not have any issues at this point in time.
All right, thank you very much, colleagues. I'm sorry, I should have asked. Hello?
It's Mente.
Oh, yes, Honourable Mente.
Yeah, molweni bethu. Okay. Chair. Yes, I got you after 5 minutes past 12, so you'd already started. I don't know if you had covered my question that I have. Nothing hectic for now. So the experience I have, I think me and you, we understand the issues of APAC. But I always have a question as to what do we seek to achieve with APAC? And what impact does it then have and solutions it's providing, in particular to the mandate of SCOPA, South Africa. It could be also to the mandate of SCOPA in Africa, the scopers in Africa. So if we can just get back there, because in the last two conferences I attended of APAC in the last term, I didn't get joy at all in terms of APAC. And I couldn't understand the mandate of APAC as to what does it want to achieve. And I felt like it doesn't have what I would call follow-ups to ensure that it ties down on every aspect of corruption, perhaps it identifies, and how it seeks to resolve those kinds of issues. So what will be different this time around, if you can take us through? Thanks, Chair.
Okay. From maybe, are there any other questions, colleagues? Right. Just to say, the concern that you have, Honourable Mente, is what triggered the intervention of the Speakers Forum, in part that there was an absence of joy in terms of whether APAC as an association was empowering the public accounts committees to fulfill their mandates in their respective jurisdictions. to share experiences and so on and so forth. And it is precisely for that reason then that it was felt that it should not be in the AG's office separate from the legislative sector itself, and hence then it is being brought to Parliament. The main thrust of it is capacity building of the public accounts committees, and also to where something which needs to change in APAC is that it became too elitist. It became like a parallel something of sorts, which, as you rightly say, the previous conferences which we had attended became tech shops, massive gala dinners, and so on, and it was devoid of the fundamental training that was required. And so the first task, once leadership has been elected, is to actually effect the necessary changes and the paradigm shift to try and make it fulfill its mandate and to bring the committees together. So I think that's where we are at this point. I think what we will do is that once the position papers of the discussions that are being drafted, because the coordinator currently is the chairperson of SCOPA in the Gauteng legislature, and he is coordinating the teams. Once we have received the draft documents of the discussion documents, we will then have a discussion on those so that we can substantively make sure that we influence the direction. But ultimately, my sense has always been that APAC is a capacity building institution which must, ensure that we are all operating effectively and efficiently. The other consideration, of course, is that we do pay a subscription fee, and I'm aware that Parliament is not going to pay until such time that leadership has been elected and that these matters are being sorted out in a manner which inspires the confidence. So I think it's a work in progress. I think that's the best reaction I have to the question, Honourable Member. I hope I cover what you are looking at.
Okay, no, I hear you, Chair. Let's wait for the discussion documents. Perhaps they will then give a clear guidance and direction as to what is it that APAC must achieve, and whatever conferences to say in which shape or form is it going to take when conferences are sitting. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. If I may, colleagues, I must apologize. I should have asked, are there any agenda items that colleagues would like to add for general, or we'll do that when we get there? Okay. Right. Can I ask then Usis Ntando, our content advisor, to take us through the information that has been tabled from the previous meetings that we have had, and then we will proceed from there. So, Sister Ntando, can I hand over to you?
Okay. Good morning, Chairperson.
Circulated, Sister Ntombi, right?
Chairperson. Yes, Chairperson.
Okay, thanks. So, Sister Ntando, over to you.
Okay. Good morning, Chairperson, and good morning, members. How do you want me to approach it, Chairperson? Must it approach it line by line or just summary? Chairperson? Okay, let me do it. I'll do it as it is. Okay, it's fine. Let me do it as it is on the document.
Chair. Chair?
Yes, Honourable Member.
Yeah, Sister Ntombi, which document is this one that Kenge is talking to? I've got the one with the issues to follow up.
That's the
and
one. Mm.
That's the one.
Yes.
Oh.
What
Oh,
else do we have, Ms.
It's
Mendes?
the schedule of.
No,
that's
Yes.
done.
I thought perhaps, yes, proceed, Sisi. I thought perhaps it's something else that you're going to talk to. No, that's fine.
Okay. No, it's fine. It's this one matters to follow up. It's just a summary of the documents that the committee requested from previous hearings. I'll just speak to it because it was submitted to the members. I'm not going to project it. Is it fine, Chair?
Yeah, you can proceed.
Is it fine?
Yeah.
Okay. From Department of Public Works, from the hearing that was on the 4th of February, 2020, the department, members must remember that this hearing, it was about the ESKOM debt and the municipality debt that was owed by Department of Public Works. And then from the debt of ESKOM, and then the committee decided to call Public Works, Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, because that department was the one that had the highest amount owed to ESKOM. So the hearing was on the 4th of February. And then from that hearing, it transpired that this 3 billion debt that was owed by Public Works, it was actually owed by the user departments and not necessarily the Public Works, because Public Works will pay ESKOM or the municipalities, and the user departments will pay Public Works. So from that hearing, the committee needed 3 things: it needed a list of municipalities that were not reporting in terms of Section 71 of the MFMA, sorry, because from their reconciliation, from Public Works reconciliation, they said that some of the municipalities didn't prepare the schedule, the monthly schedule, monthly budget schedule. So they didn't agree with the amounts what the municipality were saying they were owed. So the committee requested the list of those 122 municipalities. And also it requested the list of departments that Department of Public Works sent the correspondence to them, because Departments of Public Works said in the meeting that from the 1st of April 2020, it will hand over now the payment of ESKOM debt to the departments. So it wrote to them, Public Works wrote to all the departments. And then in the hearing, Public Works said that some of the departments did not respond, and some departments did respond, did acknowledge the receipt of the communication. And some of the departments that said they acknowledged, they said they couldn't take over the payment of ESKOM to ESKOM. They are not ready to take over the payment. So the committee also requested a list of employees that were responsible from Public Works side now, that were responsible for not paying over the ESKOM debt within 30 days as required by the law. So in terms of follow-up, the last comment on this document, the department did send all the list of municipalities. And I must say, Chairperson, that some of the municipalities in this 122 are the municipalities that were called by SCOPA last year. Mamusa is one of them, Bojanolo is one of them, but the list is there that was provided, and these documents were forwarded to the members. Also on the departments now, that Public Works wrote to them, they submitted the responses from departments. If I can just summarize, they submitted to all departments, and 29 user departments, they responded acknowledging, and 29 departments, they responded, they didn't respond. The department is waiting for a response. 14 departments, they responded. Out of the 14 departments that responded, only 2 departments, which is social development and SAPS, they said they were ready to take over the payment, paying ESKOM themselves. Can I move on, Chair?
Colleagues, would you prefer that she goes through the whole document, or we discuss one set of submissions or follow-ups on one set of submissions and then move on to the next one?
Or can I just quickly finish and then?
All right. I think we should go through the whole lot.
Okay,
all right.
Whole lot.
Sandra, finish the whole lot, and then we will come back to members. Will make notes as we go. All right.
Okay. The due date for this submission was 11th of February, and then they submitted. The department submitted on the 4th. So we have this information, and then on the 3rd of March 2020, still Department of Public Works now, when they came to account for their 2018-2019 annual report and annual financial statements. This hearing emanated from the hearing in February, because there were issues there, especially on the issue of bank overdraft, that the Department of Public Works had to incur overdraft in order to pay this, ESKOM and other municipalities. So the committee decided to call Public Works now to account on their own 2018-2019 annual report and annual financial statements. And from that hearing, the committee requested a number of documents from Department of Public Works that were due on the 17th of March 2020. The committee requested a report or a summary on the staff, on the cleaning staff that were utilized in the finance section to process invoices, especially in Western Cape, in Cape Town region. The committee also requested a copy of legal advice given to the department advising the delay of disciplinary proceedings against the implicated officials in the I think it's in the PwC report, but we'll speak to that. And then the committee also requested update on the matter of the DG that is implicated on the irregular expenditure involving the state funerals within 14 days. So these documents were due to the committee on the 17th of March 2020, and then the department provided this submission on the 17th of March. On the 17th of March, it provided and then in the summary, which is the last column, the committee, they received information from the minister that the matter of the DG, because the DG was involved in the state funerals where the amounts were inflated. So the committee received that information from the DG, from the minister, saying that this matter now, it was with the presidency, and the presidency gave a mandate to the minister to deal with this issue. Also, the committee was provided with some summary of and motivation on why the cleaners were involved in the processing of invoice. I think this information was distributed to members, and it's with the members now they're aware. And then also on the 3rd of June 2020, the Department of Public Works appeared now to the committee to appear for SCOPA on the issue of the Beit Bridge, the construction of the 40-kilometer fence where a constructor Magwa Construction was involved, and the amount of it was 37 million. The hearing was on the 6th of June. From that hearing, the committee requested a number of documents from Public Works, which were due on the 12th of June. The committee requested National Treasury's investigation, because National Treasury, during the hearing, National Treasury informed the committee that they are also busy with the investigation and they promised that they'll provide a report to the committee on the 19th of June. This report has not been received by the committee. That's why in the last column it's blank, because we haven't received this report from National Treasury. Also, on the hearing of 3rd of June, the committee also requested a ministerial directive issued to make this project an emergency project in terms of National Treasury regulations. The committee requested that it must be provided with a copy of this ministerial directive. Also, the committee requested reports from the project manager to provide status on this project and their involvement. This information has not been received by the committee. The last one is also the committee requested all other reports, including the internal audit report, the Auditor General report, and the SIU report assessment on this project when they are available. I think AG promised that this report will be available on the sometime in August. So the committee requested that when it's available, it must be provided to the committee. Lastly, on the Department of Public Works, it was the hearing that we had last week on the 8th of July. This hearing emanated from it was a follow-up hearing from the hearing on the 3rd of March on the issue of the PwC investigation on the Director General of Public Works, as well as other officials. So the committee requested a status update from the minister, because the minister was mandated by the president to deal with the issue. So from that hearing, from last week's hearing, the committee requested the actual copy of the PwC report, including the terms of reference and cost of appointing PwC. I think, yeah, we should update this one, because we did receive yesterday the copy of PwC report, but it was already, this document was sent to the members. But the members, they know the contents of the PwC report, but the actual copy, it was provided yesterday. We are done, Chairperson, with the Department of Public Works. We're not gonna do PRASA, because PRASA was not in the list of departments for discussion today. Can I go to ESKOM, Chairperson? Chairperson. Chair. Chairperson.
I think, you should move. It looks like it's me and you here.
Are you listening, Ms. Manda?
I'm also
yeah, we
here,
can hear.
I'm also here. We can hear you, Ndando.
Okay.
We
I thought I was talking to myself.
are listening.
Okay. Oh. Okay. Okay. Are you following?
Yeah.
Okay, I was saying PRASA.
Get stuck. Yeah, you can pass PRASA. Yeah.
PRASA is not stuck. Yes. On ESKOM, Chairperson, I'll just be brief now, because ESKOM, we had a hearing with ESKOM on the 18th of February 2020, where we requested a list of things from a list of submissions from ESKOM. And then we also had a meeting with ESKOM on the 18th of June 2020, where we discussed these submissions in detail. So I'm just going to be very quick with the submissions from the 18th of February hearing. The committee requested a list of all the deviations and expansions. Another request was the details pertaining the recovery of funds. And then ESKOM provided a batch, a lot of documents in different batches. So in batch one, it was where they provided details on the recovery, especially on 3 companies, major companies, which is Tegeta, the 5 billion recovery, how they planning to to recover that, as well as on Deloitte, the 207, which they took Deloitte to court, and then I think the agreed amount was on 105 million, and as well as Mackenzie and Company, as well as Miegra Transport CC, which was a claim of 3 million, of 35 million, of which they managed to recoup 3 million. These were discussed in the meeting on the 18th. The committee also requested details on the hardship relating to the removal of ash. Then ESKOM did provide some sort of briefing, and then it was discussed also in the meeting. The independent power producers, how much do they contribute to the grid? They did provide an explanation in their submissions, which was made to the committee on the 3rd of March, that the independent power producers contribute about 11,344 gigawatts energy to the grid, which represent about 5% of ESKOM's total power supply. And then the total cost of these independent power producers as at 31st March 2019 was 26.6 billion. And then the expenditure on the actual take or pay contract in Medupe, they did provide the explanation. Although this amount fluctuates over time, it's monthly, but they did provide that at 30th November 29, the take or pay contract was 9.1 billion. And as at 29 February 2020, it was 9.1 billion. In November, it was 8.9 billion. The investigations, the preliminary details on the investigations, while waiting final report, they did provide that they forwarded cases to the law enforcement agents, especially the 3 high-profile cases, which is Brian Molefe's pension payout, and as well as Mr. Koko's involvement in Impulse, as well as his involvement along with Mr. Singh's in the Tegeta contract. So these cases are with law enforcement agencies as well as SIU. So the committee also requested status of vetting of employees. They did provide this, although I must highlight to the members that although they did provide that the executive and senior management of ESKOM, a lot of them, they haven't been cleared by the state security agents. So a majority of the executive members of ESKOM, they have not received their clearance certificates. In addition to what the committee required, the committee required quarterly reports to be submitted to SCOPA to address the issues of investigations. And the committee receives these submissions. The last submission was on the 10th of June 2020. There's a lot of progress there in those investigations. We find that from the previous submission, that nothing much has been done, and the cases they take time, they take months to finalize, but they do submit them to the committee. On the 18th of June 2020, the committee also met with ESKOM to discuss recommendations, progress on the recommendations, as well as submissions from the oversight visit. That was last year. And then from this hearing, the committee requested 4 documents from this hearing. It requested the report on the COO, on the investigation of the COO, Mr. Oberholzer. And then the due date for this submission was the 19th of March, because in the hearing, the committee was informed that this report is final and it has been received by ESKOM, and then the committee requested a copy. The committee also requested, I'll get to the details of this report, brief summary. The committee also requested the analysis, because members, they felt that this take or pay contract was not benefiting ESKOM, so it was not value for money. So the committee also requested a cost benefit analysis on the take or pay contract in Medupe. The committee also requested the details of overpayment by 4 billion of the contracts. This issue is that issue that the Committee on Appropriations is also dealing with it. So the committee requested that when this information is provided to the Standing Committee on Appropriations, the committee can also be provided with this copy, as well as the report, detailed report of previous years lifestyle audit report, because the minister informed the committee that there was an audit that was done on the lifestyle report, on the lifestyle audit of employees of ESKOM. Can I just summarize, Chair, the findings of on the CEO?
Yes, you can, because the report was received and summarized.
Yes, the report was received. They provided the report on the 29th of June 2020. Basically, if I can just give a background, on the 18th of March, PRASA Incorporated was requested by ESKOM to instruct Mr. Kasim, who's a senior counsel, to conduct investigation on various allegations against ESKOM's COO, Mr. Oberholzer, because there were issues from the media about his involvement in his involvement. So the terms of it was the investigator was given 10 days to complete the investigation and produce report. So the terms of reference were based on 6 key areas, which was whether there is an undisclosed conflict of interest by the COO pertaining to Stefanati stocks or any other entity which may potentially result in breach of ESKOM's conflict of interest policy. That was the first area. The second was whether, since his return to ESKOM in 2018, the COO, in his dealings with any of the functionaries of Stefanati stocks, breached his fiduciary duties and any policies at ESKOM. Another one was whether there is any corruption and or personal benefit derived by him from the Black and Vietch contract, which was originally 114 million and which was expanded and extended over years to 14 billion. And the other 3 issues were referring to Mr. Chetia, who is ESKOM's employee, who was a GM on mega projects, and then who was a whistleblower on the issues on some of the decisions by the COO. So the briefing was whether his disciplinary actions against him and the grievance that was lodged against him amounted to victimization, because he was moved from his position and then he was taken to somewhere else, so he lodged a grievance. And then the merits, and then he also took the case to CCMA. So the summary of the findings in page 5 of the report were that In relation to the focus, the area, which was on Mr. Oberhelzer's interest in Stefanatu stocks, is that after he was employed by ESKOM, ne? Mr. Oberhelzer was employed by ESKOM, and then he left ESKOM in 2008. And then he ran his own company. And then from 2013 to 2014, he took employment at Stefanatu Stocks as the managing director. And then during this period, he was given, he was allocated shares of 35,834 shares in ESKOM. And then on the 16th of July, 2018, Mr. Oberhelzer took employment at ESKOM as a COO. And then on his declaration of interest on 7th of August 2018, as well as on the 26th of September 2019, because they must do yearly a declaration of interest, he declared his personal interest in ABSA and FNB as well as Sanlam. And then during the investigation, he explained that he did not declare his interest as Stefanatu Stocks because the explanation that he provided was that this is Stefanatu Stocks is part of the FNB securities portfolio. So by declaring that he's got interest in FNB, he says that he's also declaring his interest in Stefanatu stocks. And then the senior counsel expressed that in his report that he thinks that this is a proper disclosure was made, and so there was nothing from the report. There was nothing wrong, if I may say, because he has declared. That's what the investigation found. Okay, another dimension to this is that investigation on whether now he breached ESKOM's policy, because ESKOM's policy requires that if he's got interest in that company, he should have recused himself from any involvement of this company. But the investigation discovered that on 11th of December 2019, he signed in his capacity as the COO support to modify a contract with Stefanatu Stocks, a joint venture contract with Stefanatu Stocks and Basel Reed to extend for construction at Kusile. And as well as on the 27th of January 2020, he also signed a submission to the Investment and Finance Committee in support for the board to increase the contract value of the of Stefanatu Stocks and the Basel Reed joint venture. However, the investigator found that this matter does not constitute a disciplinary hearing because he was just signing those contracts. He was not involved. That's what they say. So that's what the investigation finds, that he was merely engaging in the operation, in his operational duties. And then the recommendation was that the CEO of ESKOM or the nominated board member counsels the COO on the matter. On the matter of the Black and React contracts, I'm on page 6 of the submission of the document. The investigation was that there was no factual content supporting allegations of corruption or wrongful conduct on the part of Mr. Oberhelzer in relation to his role in this contract, because this contract comes way back from 2007 and 8. So they say that he was not really involved. There was a chairperson of the board and the then CEOs, because this contract, when it was signed, it was an open-ended contract. On the matters that relate to the whistleblower, on the payment of 42 million to one of ESKOM company, which is Aveng. This matter, the investigator, this is the matter then that the whistleblower also took it to the committee, also with the Zondo Commission, and also it's in the High Court, because the Mr. Chetia says that ESKOM CEO paid 42 million, and he did not act in interest of ESKOM, and this amount was not approved by him, was not approved by him and his supervisor, but the CEO insisted that this money must be paid to this company. So in his report, in the initial report, which was signed on the 4th of April by the senior counsel, recommended that there should be a disciplinary hearing on this matter in order to enable proper ventilation of the issues to be determined in a disciplinary hearing. And ESKOM must factor into consideration that such payments is presently part of the litigation between ESKOM and Aveng. And then on the 20th of June, he wrote a issued a supplementary correspondence to ESKOM saying that this matter was heard in Johannesburg High Court on the 18th of May 2020, and judgment is pending. So he said that in the previous report, he said there should be disciplinary hearings, but now he wishes to say that the ESKOM must wait for the outcome of the High Court, for the findings of the High Court, because it will be prudent and reasonable for all concerned to wait the findings of the High Court. And all this information was submitted to the committee. Insofar as the claims, there are claims that also in the media report about the ESKOM's COO approving his brother-in-law's transfer from Johannesburg to Cape Town, and he found that there's nothing, that proper processes were followed in moving him from Johannesburg to Cape Town, because it was one of the charges against him. So, and also,
let's also manage time.
Yes. Okay.
Today, yeah.
Okay. Let me. Okay. In the issues of the whistleblower as well as the CMA, this matter was, he didn't complete the investigator didn't. He said that he can do. Mr. Chetia can do because it is within his right to transfer if he's not feeling, he can transfer, he can take the matter to CCMA. I think that's what the gist.
Because colleagues, I thought we would do an executive summary of that. Colleagues have received. Let's proceed to the.
Okay. The outstanding issues, Chairperson, on this.
Let's focus on what's outstanding.
Okay. It's analysis on the cost of take or pay contract analysis. It's the 4 billion of the 4 contracts that were overpaid, as well as the detailed of the lifestyle audit report. That's what is outstanding. On the SAA, Chairperson, the committee requested from the 19th of February hearing, the committee requested a number of things, which included the bailout amounts. This was provided from 2004 to 2019, 2020. And then how much ESKOM then was still needed, then this amount was provided at 7.7 billion. The committee also requested legal opinion on non-submission of financials, and then this was provided on the 26th of February. Then the committee had a hearing with SAA on the 15th of May with the business rescue practitioners, which requested a lot of information, and this information has not been provided to the committee. The due date of this information was 26th of February 2020, it included the full details on the amount that was spent on each business rescue practitioner, the schedule of consultation fees, meetings between BRPs and boards and shareholder, meetings on minutes of the union meetings, monthly reports from the BRPs, as well as the provision of definite date for the completion of business rescue plan. Okay, this information has not been received by the committee, and then as alluded in the submission, there was a recommendation, there was a reminder sent, but the committee has not received this information to date. The committee has, however, received information from, I think there were just a courtesy information from the minister about to keep the committee abreast on the department and ministers' withdrawal from the Leadership Consultative Forum, as well as the notice to the unions, informing the unions that the minister is withdrawing from that forum because there was he was not treated well. The minister was not treated well by the unions, and then he decided not to continue the elections, as well as provided information on the 2.2 billion offer from the ministers from the department side, offered to the unions of several voluntary packages to affected employees of SAA. This information was not requested, but it was a courtesy. I think he sent it to portfolio committee as well as.
No, that's fine. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's highlight now on what's remaining, the issues that are outstanding on the tracking.
Okay, on the tracking.
Substantive
the issues.
Received.
The issues.
Wait. What has been received? Members have gone through that, but they need to juxtapose that against what is outstanding. So let's now just quickly go through what we have not received from all the entities.
Okay, what we have not received. Okay, what we have not received now from SA Express is full details from the liquidators of SA Express now, from the meeting on the 17th of June 2020, is full details of sale of assets that was required, report on employees to be paid by the liquidators, and full details of interested parties, buyers. I think there were 7 that were mentioned. The committee requested their information, and details on the limited duration consultants amount and the amounts on the limited duration consultations that were paid by the liquidators during that time. Okay. Can I go on, Chair? On SAPS?
Yes, proceed.
On SAPS, yes, the information that was requested is there.
All right.
And the SAPS they also provide monthly reports on the investigations as required by the committee. The monthly report that was received was on the 25th of June 2016. There are challenges with processing with speeding up the cases. You find out there's little improvement done from the previous month in their submissions, but they do submit. On the water and sanitation submissions, the committee requested information on the 86 officials. This information was provided. I must say, in Department of Water and Sanitation submissions, what they do, you find that sometimes they don't provide names or amounts in those cases. They just provide the rank. So I've highlighted it in the submission. So this information was submitted with no names, only ranks. And then also the committee requested outcome of investigations on all water boards that received double payment. This information has not been received by, they have not responded to. The committee also requested the validation, a report on the validation of work performed by water boards. This information has not been received. The committee requested details of the 9 billion rand, which is irregular expenditure on the department. Then this amount was waiting for donation. They did provide this information. Most of these cases are under investigation, and the names also have not been included. And the committee also requested terms of reference for Advocate Dawo's previous work as well as the current work on the department. Committee was provided with Advocate Dawo's previous work, which was done in 2017 in the department, but the terms of reference of his appointment in March 2020 has not, as well as the cost, has not been provided to the committee. The committee also requested information on water tanks, as discussed in the meeting, which were 19,000 water tanks. What the department provided was information on 7,378 water tanks, not on the 19,000 that was discussed. The cost of this was 91.6 million. The committee also requested more information on where these water tanks are located, the mechanism to ensure that these water tanks, they are not stolen, and how many have been stolen, and how many yes, but this information has not been received, only the information of the 7,000 water tanks. Most of the questions related to water tanks have not been submitted. And that's all that the committee submitted. They didn't provide the information that was requested on the Amatola water. The SIU, from the 19th of June 2020 hearing, the committee requested breakdown on the 8.9 million conflict of interest, Department of Water and Sanitation's employees that were involved, which were doing business with the department. This information was provided and was submitted to the members, as well as the disciplinary referrals to law enforcement agency, the assets forfeiture unit, as well as SARS referrals. This information was provided. As the committee also requested SIU to provide information on the board members, especially the Mhlatu's water board. Then this information was provided from 2003-2004 financial year to 2008-2009 financial year. The UIF requested more information on the 16 cases that were under investigation. This information has been provided, and only one case has been referred to SAPS. The committee also requested reports on fake profiles that were submitted. This has not been received. The committee requested the formula that is used to calculate payment benefit to employees. This was submitted on 30th of June 2016, as well as the report on the 5.7 million, which was paid in the incorrect bank account. This report was provided that the matter is with Hawks. Hawks are investigating the matter, but the bank account of the suspect has been frozen, and the Hawks is trying to recover some of the money with the assistance of the Financial Intelligence Center. So we still are waiting for this. And at the same time, the entity is doing its own investigation. So we're still waiting for that, but they did provide a summary. Okay. That's all, Chairperson. Try to summarize.
All right. Thank you very much, Tando. I think that is the snapshot of where we are. I know that one of the first questions will be about SAA. We have sent through further correspondence to remind them, and they've still not responded to the matters. Can I hand over to colleagues if there's any input or guidance in terms of how we proceed with all the other, with any of the matters that have been raised? Colleagues?
Thank you so much.
Babu Somyo?
Yes, Chairman.
Okay, and then Honorable List will follow.
Yes. I think the team has collated quite a lot of information which we have dealt with and seek to finalize through and various aspects that are still remaining for the finalization of those reports. So I take it that the outstanding one on SAA would be looked into in the future for us to be able to plan accordingly. But on the area of ESKOM, there's a one outstanding matter there which relate to the investigation and investigation report which was reported to us in as far as the COO is concerned. I don't know whether I've missed it or what. I haven't had anything about such. It might be that I've missed it, or I was at the time out. Otherwise, other elements, I'm happy about the other aspects which they've been covered quite well by the team. Thank you very much, Chair.
Right. Honorable Liz.
Mr. Chairman, yeah, I don't want to get into the details of what is or isn't outstanding because it's quite a long list, but I think we've got to deal with a principle here. And the principle is that the Parliament makes requests for information and expects to get that information at the appointed date or before. It's not happening in many instances, and we can see it's the Minister of Public Enterprises, Minister of Water and Other Affairs, whatever it's called. Yeah, so the principle is the issue here. I honestly believe that the information is deliberately being withheld from the committee because other information comes very easily. But there's certain information that may be embarrassing, and I take, for instance, the 19,000 water tanks. I would suggest that, for instance, the minister has no idea where the tanks are, who's controlling them, who's putting water in, and therefore it would be an embarrassing response. I'm just using that as an example. I'm not opening it as a debating item. And so, Mr. Chairman, I think we need to deal very, very robustly with the principle of ensuring that Parliament is respected and that the information requested is given to us immediately it is requested, not at some future date that may or may not suit the ministers or departments involved. And in order for this to become the reality, I would request that we write a letter to the leader of government business to point out all the information and reports that has been requested and not been submitted, and asking for the Leader of Government Business to intervene to make sure that we get supplied with this information without any further delays. I would really urge us to act in that way. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Honourable Liz. Honourable Mente.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, support. I don't like to call you support. Our supporting mechanism. I don't know if that's proper for the content. Okay, Chair, let me just quickly go through department by department. Firstly, at DPWI, or let me rather say, I think all these departments qualify for follow-ups. We need to tie down on them, all of them. And us tying down is probing further and ensuring that we are achieving results that are conclusive and are admirable, in particular, the ones that will set an example for others not to touch the funds of the state. So if you go to DPW, and their answers, which they have provided so far, in fact, all of them, they have just given us insufficient information, and there's lack of accountability, are actually undermining us and our capacity to understand the issues and reading what they are sending to us. Remember our mandate on what do? We're policing the funds, and if the funds are not spent adequately and properly, whoever is responsible for spending money the way they want, and in particular found with their hands in the cookie jar, must suffer the consequences. That's what we want to know, and ensure that there are stricter measures in place. Now at Public Works, I don't get a feel on the answers they have given us when I'm reading the document. We still have to probe much further. And in fact, I'm sensing that they think we want this just to see what they can do, but we wanted to ensure that no one else is going to be careless when it comes to allowing any other entity that's under them to make them pay for things that they have spent. I don't know if I make sense. And they make it a by the way issue that no, we just had to incur an overdraft and then pay over. But how do you pay for someone else, knowing very well that it's not you who's owing? What was the deal? Something like that. So they have to come back. And then when it comes to ESKOM, I think all of it, they have a whole lot of outstanding issues. On the issues they have responded to, I am not satisfied. In the particular matter of the COO, Yona, it leaves a lot to be desired. Because if then that's the attitude they are taking as what they've written on their findings, we will have to sanction forensics. I don't know whether also legal of Parliament to advise us how they dealt with Machela Koko, how they dealt with Brian Molefe on the similar conducts. It's very different to how they are dealing with this particular COO, the very same entity. So where are the issues that they are pointing out? How are they different to how they have been dealing with other officials, executives of ESKOM? And for me, the investigation does not hold any water, and it's not screaming, we did it. It's screaming, we'll just do it because you asked us to. By the way, the person is not going anywhere, whether you feel like it or not. It's not a matter of feeling, it's a matter of principle. And what I wanted to check from you is, what is the rule in terms of the PFMA and people trading, the ones in the state and trading with themselves. And we read then that rule with the ESKOM policy, because that's then the basic principle that should be guiding this investigation. It does not matter whether the disclosure was that FNB then is an umbrella of all these companies and whatnot and whatnot. What is the rule in terms of PFMA and what is the rule in terms of ESKOM? Let's stick to the principle here. And then the issue also of the findings. This one is very undermining. I was cringing when Tsenge was reading this, but when I read it through, I understood that. I think they think they are talking to, or they are writing to just members of parliament who happen to be some standard B or whatsoever. When the matter of an official or a staff member is at court, it doesn't rule out disciplinary hearing from the employer. It's two different actions altogether. So if you're an employer and you believe that there's a misconduct, you don't need a court to tell you if there's a misconduct. Here, there's a misconduct because the PFMA and the Institution Act has been breached. You don't wait for a court to tell you it happened or not. The court decides on the matter of there is proof conclusively, but you, as an employer, you work on balance of probabilities. So on balance of probabilities, there is a misconduct. There is a whistleblower, and the whistleblower is proving to the employer that I was forced to pay for something which the PFMA says I can't pay if there's no invoice, if I don't see what's happening, if there were no services. But this one says I must pay. Now the very same employer says, no, court must tell me if that happened. Bona, we went to school as well. Nomas Pelekutu is fine. So that, for me, Chair, it has to come back to the committee, like as in like any time like yesterday. We are being undermined fully. He says he believes there's a misconduct. He withdraws because the matter was at court. So what is holding then the disciplinary hearing? And then the outstanding information on what happened to the people who paid monies over paying the companies to the tune of the 4 billion we were talking to last time. We're still not told about what's happening and where is the disciplinary hearing in terms of that. And then the issues of SAA, we'll leave them, perhaps when we call them now next time, we will see what's happening, because I just read that the proposal of the business rescue practitioners has been accepted. So whatever we want to hear, we'll hear it from that angle now. As well as the SA Express, I'll leave that to the chair. SAPS, we need to call them back because I'm not sure if we got everything. I'll talk to you, Tsenge, aside on matters where we left off last time, and when we called them again now, there's some incoherence in terms of information. The IT companies, the IT systems they have paid for, and they are not existing in police stations and all those things. Then the last one is the human settlements. Chair, page 18. Chair and company member and colleagues, let's just quickly go to page 18, all of us. You will see the frustration I'm having. And on page 18, where Tsenge is showing us how they have responded, you will see senior management officials, warning, suspension, suspended, 2 months, 3 months. And then go to officials, 13 dismissals. Look at the level 1 to 12. These are your administrators, cleaners, or clerks, or whatsoever. And then the senior management, who are supposed to know what they are doing, the warning, written warning and everything. Tell me if that is fair. So who rules that an official who's supposed to be overseeing over a level 3 or 5 clerk who received an invoice and put it on their desk for their authority and approval and signatures? They signed off on documents that were brought by these level 1 to 12, but the level 1 to 12 are the ones that are biting the dust. They get off with warnings. The department has audacity to give us such information to say, no, these are the consequences, and we must accept that. It's really not up to what we are looking for. And if that is the case, then they have to explain to us, how does it happen? And then in terms of their information as well, we must get the names of these officials, the names of the level 1s to 12, the transgressions, the cost, and how are these officials related to the senior officials in terms of who was accounting to who and who signed off, just like the case of the funerals, where the DG is the one who signed off. So something of that nature. Thank you very much, Chair.
All right. Thank you very much, colleagues. That was the Honorable Dex.
Honorable Chair, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, Honorable Chair, I'll be very, very brief because I agree with most of what the members have been saying, especially issues raised by Honorable Mente. And then Honorable Chair, Honorable Lees is raising the issue that he gets the feeling that reports, all the information are not getting given to us. I have exactly the same feeling, and I think that we are not we don't receive all the information. Departments do not give us the information. Let me take ESKOM, for example, Honorable Chair, that this week in the Sunday newspapers, we read that reports that has not been made available to Parliament, the newspapers in possession of report documents that has not been released to Parliament or to the public. And speaking a whole lot of things about the COO that these documents are actually saying. And these documents have not been brought to us. So I'm very unhappy with the reports that we're receiving from the department. And again, Chair, I'll just raise this issue, Chair. Chair, I think it's a bit just too much for us. We are dealing with, I keep on raising this thing, I'm like a stuck record raising this thing over and over, that we are not focused. We are dealing with so many different things, issues, and we are not doing justice to any of them. I think we must become focused, Chair. But really, we need to become focused and deal with. If we say we're going to take ESKOM to its logical conclusion, we should do that. If we say we're going to do SAA, we must do that instead of jumping around. Because the ESKOM thing, is far from over. That is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much of wrong that has happened there. There's so much of cover-up that's taking place in ESKOM. And I think we must select what we're going to deal with and dig deep in and complete our dealings with these departments until the end, instead of jumping all over the show. Thank you, Chair.
All right, thanks, Honorable Hatem. You'll be the last one.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I only have one issue to raise: the 4 billion overpayment contracts at Kusile Power Station. I am disappointed that we have not been given a concrete response with details. I was expecting that this matter will be resolved expeditiously, Chair. We're talking about 4 billion, unless 4 billion to ESKOM is just a drop in the ocean. But I want to plead with the committee, let us put pressure on ESKOM and get to the bottom of this overpayment before this company can exhaust these funds and we're told they are filing for bankruptcy. We need to know what happened, who authorized this payment, under what circumstances, companies that are involved, what are the steps that will be taken to recover the money. That is my 2 cents contribution, Chair. We can't leave this matter lying like this. 4 billion, it's a lot of money. Thank you, Chair.
All right. Sisintando, you can just give responses to the issues that need substantive ones, and then we can proceed and also just manage our time. All right, over to you.
Yes, on the issue of COO, Honorable Samio, I did provide explanation on COO, and it's there on the document. That's, yeah, the issue on investigation on the COO. That was Mr. Somio's.
Yeah.
Yes, I did explain it. I did spend some time. That there was an investigation that was done, and then it was most areas was found. Okay. On the Ms. Menta mentioned on the issue that we must look at the policy at the PFMA in terms of employees doing business with the state. I know there's a public service regulations, in 2017 where the employees were prohibited. So I think we must, I will look at that with the staff, and then maybe you can write a report. We could see there was a regulation, public service regulations. So Ms. Menta, we can look at that together with the PFMA. That is all I have, Chair, on my side.
All right, no, that's fine. I think the substantive probing questions in terms of where things are have been noted by the team, and the points of emphasis insofar as what is outstanding has been, sharply raised and pointed. Colleagues, what I will request then is that, with your permission, is that tomorrow we're going to receive the updated parliamentary program from the National Assembly Programming Committee. That meeting is tomorrow. And then we will look at that. Then, with your permission, can we slot all these areas of concern? Particularly, I note that ESKOM is an issue, SAA is an issue, and on water, we prioritize those so that we can have follow-ups meeting with all those entities, just specifically on the outstanding matters and the issues that they've submitted, so that we can bring these to a conclusion. And yes, we will communicate with the leader of government business. I think there is merit to that. And so what I will suggest, colleagues, is that the two groups of the committee, Sistombi Putben, if we can find slots on the parliamentary platform for them to meet and then meticulously now go through each submission and make recommendations for the committee, so that we can then tie down on these things, with or without information. If information is not forthcoming, we'll make a recommendation on the basis of the absence of that information, because it will be speaking to a fundamental shortcoming within the operations of the department or entity. So if we can break it down in that way, and then give ourselves that space and time to do that, I think the frustration of the committee is warranted, but I think at the same time, we must expect that we are going to run into these difficulties, because we are interrupting people's misbehavior per se. So they are bound to be resistant to the expectations and the requests and the demands of the committee, because we are foisting on them a culture of accountability, which maybe they are allergic to or foreign to. So I think we must be frustrated, yes, but also at the same time understand that to interrupt maladministration, which is a comfort zone for some, is actually going to meet us with these kinds of results. So colleagues, I request that you proceed in that fashion. Having looked at the submissions, they will go to the groups, and then we will schedule for hearings and then prepare the reports, recommendations, and resolutions and observations accordingly, so that they can go to the House, and then we can tie down logically on these matters. Is that colleagues agreeable to that?
Agreed.
Agreed, Chair.
Thank you very much. Can I then request that? Now I've lost my agenda. Colleagues, you will recall that we're moving on to the issues around now the following item on the entities. Oh, there we go. Right. Remember that we had met with Water and Sanitation, ESKOM, DPWI, SAA, and Express, and UIF, and PRASA. I think that's the one that's missing there. And we, at the conclusion of those meetings, we had made determinations around inquiries, which were going to be targeted and focused. And this goes now to the point raised by Honorable Dept, that we are dealing with too many things, and I share his concern, but at the same time, it is an indication of the extent of the rot which currently prevails, which is requiring us to multitask. But if we're not going to bring matters to a logical conclusion, we run the risk of having hearings for the sake of having hearings. So there is, at the conclusion of those meetings, we have mooted issues around inquiries. There was the Water and Sanitation, PRASA matter specifically, which we had spoken for hearings. Then the advice that one then received was that it was not sufficient just to make those as part of the roadmap without them being a resolution of the committee. So we are presenting that to get a go ahead on each item by the committee so that we can proceed to deal with the matters, specifically with water and sanitation. And the one linked to water and sanitation was about Amatola, Sedibeng water, and Mhlatuza, the AG special audits. So, colleagues, on all those, we need we need a resolution, and particularly water and sanitation. In any case, it's a continuation of the water and sanitation inquiry of the Fifth Parliament and the legacy report, but we need to formally resolve on those as to whether we are proceeding with the inquiries so that we can then formally task parliamentary legal and then colleagues to make submissions of terms of reference in terms of the issues we are looking at. Then parliamentary legal can frame those so that we can then take it to the House for adoption. So it's those three. On SAA and SA Express, I know that because of their non-submission, to an extent, we have been overtaken by events, and we will have to, with speed, schedule them. But what I'm presenting now for discussion is how we proceed with the targeted areas which we, along the way, had identified, and those were PRASA, water and sanitation, and ESKOM, of course, continues to be a permanent feature of our work because of also the oversight that we have done, so that whilst we do all the other work, we are focusing, though, in a formal process with substantive, investigative, and inquiry work. So I'd like to present that to the committee for discussion. Sorry, colleagues. Honorable Liz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Utin manje?
Ngithi lapha egroupini angisayiboni i-speakers list ngoba ukhuluma ngama-red dot. All right, over to you, Honorable Liz.
Yeah, look, I mean, it is a product of the situation the country finds itself in, and the sort of huge number of issues that we should be dealing with, and so we need to be focused, I think, and targeted, and so I'm happy with those. But I would suggest that, and I know you guys are going to think, oh, there goes Lee's with his favorite again, but even with the events that have taking place with SAA, if indeed the funding is made available and SAA continues, I would suggest to you that it's even more important that we keep an eye on how that project progresses. So I would add that. But otherwise, Mr. Chairman, I think that I agree with you and Mervyn that we really do need to try to achieve success and then move on to other issues. Whether that's even possible, I really don't know. But yeah, thank you very much. I'm happy with that.
Okay, thank you very much. Colleagues, any other hand?
Me, Mervyn.
Honorable Dirks.
Yeah, Chair. Just the issue on the legacy report of the Fifth Parliament and the issue about the investigations. Chair, I'm a bit concerned about it. I'll tell you why I'm concerned. Firstly, the capacity of the committee to actually do these inquiries. We have seen in the Fifth Parliament the problem with capacity of committees to actually conduct these inquiries, because that's a total different ball game. And I do not want to find ourselves that we get ourselves stuck into inquiries when there is already an inquiry done. The department have inquiry going on currently. The minister have started an inquiry. There's also the ones of the SIU inquiries that are taking place. There's a number of inquiries that are taking place in that Water and Sanitation department. I think before we even take a decision to also do our own inquiry, let us first establish from the minister and the SIU all these inquiries that are currently taking place and what does those inquiries relate to, before we even decide whether we get ourselves involved in an inquiry that will take us nowhere when all these other inquiries are taking place. Because I'm aware there's many inquiries taking place in the department. Now, to settle a portfolio committee with busy conducting inquiries, we will need extra capacity actually to do such. So I think we must first establish what are all these inquiries that are currently taking place in that department. Because I know the minister have instituted inquiries, including the SIU department. Thank you, Chair.
All right, that's fine. Colleagues, any other hand?
Amen.
Honorable Liz.
Mr. Chairman, I really just want to emphasize what maybe formal Honourable Dirks Mervyn is saying about duplicating work that's been done by other entities and organisations. So I really do think that is a good point, well made. Having said that, there are some issues which the SCOPA coming, I think, out of the what's it called? The report from the last Parliament, legacy report. And I have raised this with you, is SCOPA took it upon itself in the last Parliament to lead the Steinhoff issue. I don't think there's anyone else doing anything at the moment in Parliament, and I really do think it's a major issue that we need to deal with in some way. And it was the biggest corporate scandal South Africa has ever seen, and the people appear who caused that crash and loss of billions of rands to many South Africans including very poor South Africans and pensioners, seems to be getting away with it. And so I would really urge that. What I'm doing is I'm just expanding what we got to do, and I think I was talking against that. But sometimes I think it's important to try, to include these things. I had asked you to include Tongaat, Hewlett as well, because that's another corporate scandal which we need to highlight and try and prevent ever happening again. But I'm not sure how we fit that one in. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Chair, can I come in again?
Yes, Honourable. Yeah. Okay, all right, fine. Conclude your point, and then Honourable Van Minen, you can come in.
Chair. Chair. That's exactly what I'm saying. We must target. We must look at what we're actually targeting. So if staying off, there's nothing. Because I'm just thinking now that there's nothing really happening about Steinhoff. There's no investigations currently. I think the committee perhaps can take that one on. But to say we take everything on and we don't do justice, that's a problem for me. So I won't have a problem with the Steinhoff one. But where there's many other investigations, I just feel, why are we getting ourselves involved in that? But a Steinhoff one, there's nothing happening. I have no problem with it. Thank you.
Right, Honourable Van Minen.
Thank you very much. I also just want to agree that Steinhoff is something we really do need to follow up on. We did have that preliminary hearing. Something I find of concern is we have meetings, but nothing really comes of it. We aren't able to hold people to account as such, just make recommendations. So I think we should target what we can do, focus very hard on them, and then be quite relentless. But I certainly think that Steinhoff needs to be part of that. Thanks.
All right, Honourable Mente.
Yes, Chair. I understand where Honourable Dept comes from, because we all want to see results. So I think the proposal made by Honourable Van Minen, that let's develop a schedule of what we want to achieve, see if it's doable, and then move with it. I don't think it's gonna be difficult for us. We have how many days in the week? 5 days. How many are parliamentary days? Is 3-4 days are parliamentary days. And if we allocate a department a day every week, even if it's follow-up, so it's no less than 5 departments that we can deal with on a weekly basis, and we can deal with 5 departments in this perhaps for 3-4 months. Put it to the final step and close it, and then go forward. But let's just develop a schedule and see if we can achieve some results. Thank you.
All right. I think that was the last hand. Let me just check. All right. No, I think Honourable Dex, you are correct. If we decide that way on water, they must just then submit the terms of reference for Advocate Tau, because those are outstanding, and then we'll assess from there as to whether we are satisfied with the scope of the investigation is all encompassing of the issues that we want, and then not duplicate activities and overstretch ourselves, and then we will monitor those investigations. I think there is a consensus on the Steinhoff matter. We will therefore then take that one up as a key priority area. So we'll action that. And then, colleagues, I was requesting that we bring to a logical conclusion the PRASA matter with an inquiry. So if we can focus on PRASA and Steinhoff as the immediate, areas for inquiries, the other work becomes our normal course of work that Honourable Mente is speaking about. It becomes prioritized, which we're having a hearing on such and such a day. It's becoming easier now. Parliament platforms are opening up better, and we are managing these things ourselves with less reliance on parliamentary's IT section. So Sis Dombe and Putben are now with Parliament's expectations and standards in terms of how these meetings should be conducted from a technical perspective. So we are not reliant per se on those as long as we are doing our work within Parliament's program. So I was requesting colleagues if we can do that. And then on the issue on the Van Minion you are raising of doing everything, I think it just goes back to taking the work to the groups and then having the final reports so we can have a date and adopt all the reports and process them to the House. I'm sure that the Chief Whips Forum and the NAPC has always been very amicable to prioritizing scope our work when it needs to go to the House. So once we have done those reports on all the matters, they will be immediately scheduled. So I think it's incumbent on us to proceed with those. So I'm hoping, dear colleagues, so if our resolution is that water and sanitation, we allow the ongoing processes subject to us satisfying ourselves that what is being investigated covers what our expectations, and then ESKOM and SAA continue to be part and parcel of our work. I think we will, with haste, have to prioritize SAA to come back and brief us because correspondence is not helping. We must just summon them back in so far as how far things are and on the information that we wanted, and then the groups will assist us. So I'm hoping to compartmentalize it in that way, colleagues. It's PRASA and Steinhoff in one basket of focus areas, and then the prioritization of our daily work on hearings is on SAA and ESKOM. I hope colleagues are in agreement with that. I hope my summary captures everything that colleagues have said.
Yes, it captures exactly what members have said, especially in relation to the duplication on the matter of water and sanitation. So I think we have summarized it quite well.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so colleagues, we will, all right, so in that case, Stormby put Ben, we will stand and we will work it out that way and present the roadmap from today to colleagues on Friday so that we can trigger the processes of engaging parliamentary legal and bring back terms of reference of the things that we'll be doing. So, and yeah, all right. Colleagues, are we fine? I would, yes, sorry, I'm not a, okay, there's a hand. Honorable Van Minen, are you fine?
Yeah, just quickly, if I can just add a little tail on what you were just saying. Sorry, it just occurred to me now. The issue of the outstanding ESKOM debt and the supposedly existent, non-existent, nobody actually knows, grouping that is chaired by the Deputy President on that issue. We have discussed it before, previously chaired by Minister Lamini Zuma. We do need to focus on that to an extent.
Okay, no, it's fine. What we will do is on ESKOM, we're going to itemize all the issues and break them up into priorities and what needs urgent attention. Some of it is ESKOM specific and some of it is ESKOM stakeholder related, like the one you are raising. So we'll break it up into two and then we will work on it on two streams. So we will do work streams for ESKOM, including the issues of the COO and so on and so forth. So I think, and then just the final matter, colleagues, the planned oversight. The problem is that we cannot proceed with planning the oversight because we want to go to Bait Bridge. Can we mute Likli one, no bundle of joy? We wanted to go to Bait Bridge, but also at the same time we are confronting the peak and the eye of the storm of the pandemic on one hand. So there have been issues raised about that. And on the other hand is the issue that Parliament's program keeps changing. So we were due for oversight in the first week of August. That has now been declared constituency work, which is making it difficult. So can we will communicate with members and colleagues once we have certainty insofar as the structure of the program. But as things, and it's very difficult to plan in terms of the way forward, because there's also the mini budget votes being thrown into the mix, which is also complicating matters a little bit for us. So I will crave the indulgence of members in that regard to be patient with the planning, but it's all dependent on what Parliament's program looks like. Colleagues in agreement, I present that to colleagues for a decision.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, are you asking us to? I'm not sure what you're asking of us. Sorry.
Presenting that dilemma to colleagues, which at this stage we are in a state of limbo because of the two factors which I've raised. One is the concern on what's going on with COVID, excuse me, and the other one is around the changing of Parliament's program. So oversight remains on the table, just that we are dealing with these dynamics. The colleagues. Bahlonishwa.
Sikhona she.
Right.
Mr. Chairman,
Any other matter
has
that
indicated.
like to... Okay, Honourable Van Minen.
Thank you. I think we're just battling a bit with sound. Look, I mean, events happen, and at the moment, I think we can't really make any set plans to do oversight. So I think I think we have to agree with you. There's no choice. It'll have to sort of be on hold pending what goes on around us.
All right. Okay, thanks, Honourable Van Minen. Any other matter, colleagues?
Yes, Chair.
Hello.
Chairperson.
Yes.
I just want a clarity. I know we are on the Steenhof matter. When it came to Parliament, there were a number of committees that were involved. Finance and Public Service Administration and the police. So is it going to be SCOPA now, or with a proposed investigation?
We will take.
We'll check.
No, we'll take it to Ulgal, and they will give us on how we proceed with it.
Okay.
Yeah. So it remains the committee is saying it has to come back onto the priority, and Parliament must pursue it. The platform which is going to anchor that process. Got challenges with load shed. Colleagues, I hope I just so that we know where we are with AMA matters, and then we will proceed. Now having devised the priority areas of the committee, having looked at governance across the spectrum. So the final point second final point I just want to make, if colleagues are fine, is that following Friday's, is it Friday? No, last week Wednesday's meeting, I'm advised that the report has reached the Director General of Public Works and Infrastructure, and so we are awaiting a progress in that regard on that matter. So the committee had raised very sharply the issue that he had not received the report, but yeah, we will follow that particular one up. Are colleagues fine?
Indeed.
Yes, we are fine, Chair.
Okay, thank you. I just, I think, colleagues, if there's one matter that I would like us to mull over about, is what transpiring out of what has been raised today, what I've been thinking about is we are seriously handicapped in that we are looking at government departments, of course, after the fact. But when it comes to the budgets for the following year, we don't have much input in those. And some of the areas where we are doing oversight require us to make recommendations even about the spending patterns and the budgetary outlook. The constraint of the rules in that regard is posing a problem for us because we are settled with dealing with things that have been designed elsewhere. And then our recommendations find a moving train and delaying their implementation. So if colleagues can brainstorm that and maybe we can schedule a meeting with Parliament Legal in terms of how we look at the framework of our operation in terms of the rules. We merely confined to a baseline year to being the AG or other audit reports is fundamentally a problem. If our corrective action is not going to have a proactive element to it, to influence things moving forward. It's all good and well that we check what killed the patient and then we make recommendations. But when budgetary work is done elsewhere, it creates a mismatch for us. We tend to become a scope by half country. That should not be the case. So I hope we can find time just to look at that particular one. And Honorable Liz, your private members, Billy Lepelle, so that we can look at the issues that you had raised. Finally, colleagues, I want to, on following last week's meeting and the issues that were raised by Honorable Hadebe at the conclusion of that meeting, I want to again say I've reflected on it and want to assure colleagues that it was most sincerely not my intention for things to have been perceived in the manner that they were. And I hope that that becomes a learning experience for all of us. And so to you as a family, I want to once again apologize in that regard. So I hope that we can move on a nice family footing as a team, as we always have, and that we find each other once again. So colleagues, there being no other matter, I want to thank you and remind you that the House...
Chair?
Yes, Honorable Hadebe.
No, thanks for the opportunity. And I think also on my side, on reflection, I should have at least known better, perhaps not raise the matter in the manner in which I did. I should have waited for such a platform to raise the matter, but I guess I was overtaken and overwhelmed by the feelings. But like I said on my utterances, that we have been doing fine from the beginning. It was only on that occasion, and on hindsight, I just realized perhaps I should have dealt with the matter differently. But so far so good. We have not had any issues in the manner in which you chair the meeting and how you resolve on issues. It's only that time. But in future, I would know better. But so far so good. Apology in the manner in which I've confronted you on that day.
No, all is well. We remain united in our commitment to oversight. Colleagues, let me remind you, the House is sitting at 3 this afternoon. And so I think it's best that members have a break and prepare for that sitting. It does promise to be a marathon sitting. We will send through documentation from today to colleagues on Friday afternoon so that they can make an input over the weekend. And then on Monday, we'll set the ball rolling. Our inquiries will be PRASA and Steinhoff, and we continue with the targeted oversight on SAA. and ESKOM on all it, and water and sanitation, and of course all other work that needs to be done will continue. But for now, those are the key focus areas. And of course, we will from time to time liaise with the AD and all our stakeholders. So colleagues, thank you very much and have a wonderful afternoon. Take care and be safe.
Thank you.
Sharp, sharp.
Sharp, yeah.
And if anybody from eThekwini municipality is listening, sicela manzi emfume in Ward 105. You know, this thing of just cutting water willy-nilly. Aye, guys, we have not had water for all this week. Last week, same story. Aye.
Ask them for electricity too. They must stop the load shedding.
There's load shedding, there's water, what. All these things are integral to a functional response to COVID-19. So please, eThekwini municipality, sicela amanzi, would like the water back. You can't cut water without explanation like you are doing, without notification. You just do it. So if anybody is listening, please, would like water. Right, colleagues, see you at 3 o'clock in the house.
Thank you. Bye.